My husband, and never let me check his laptop, until after his death. The lawyer said, "You have complete access to his privacy." Then when I unlocked it, I saw something that left me paralyzed. The house smelled of old coffee and loneliness, that smell that sticks to the walls when there is no one else to make breakfast for. I was sitting on the green velvet sofa that Eduardo had chosen 32 years ago, with my husband's laptop on my trembling knees. My hands, full of age spots and prominent veins, rested on either side of the keyboard without daring to touch it. Outside it was raining, a fine October drizzle that fogged the windows and made everything seem grayer, more distant, more unreal. "You have complete access to his privacy now, Mrs. Mendoza," the lawyer had said that same morning, with a voice that tried to be kind, but sounded mechanical, rehearsed. "According to inheritance laws, everything that belonged to your husband is now yours, including his digital files, accounts, and, well, any personal information." He had handed me a manila envelope with papers I did not understand and a yellow post-it note where the password was written in Eduardo's impeccable handwriting. Margarita 1956. My name, my birth year. That had made me cry in the lawyer's office, in front of that young man who did not know where to look while I sobbed like a child. After 53 years of marriage, after all the times Eduardo had closed his laptop with a quick click when I entered the room, after all the changed passwords and screens that mysteriously darkened upon my arrival, the password was my name. Now, 3 hours later, I still could not type it. The afternoon light filtered weakly through the lace curtains that my mother-in-law had given me when we got married. I remembered that day perfectly, her carefully folding the lace while telling me that a good wife always keeps the house bright but private, open but protected. What irony! My fingers brushed the keyboard. A chill ran down my spine. Throughout our life together, that laptop had been forbidden territory. Not explicitly, not with shouts or dramatic prohibitions. Worse, with silences, with subtle gestures, with the way Eduardo closed the screen when I approached with his cup of tea, with that smile he gave me while putting the device away in his brown leather briefcase. "It's work, Marga," he always told me, using that diminutive that only he used. "Boring office stuff. You would not want to see spreadsheets all day." And I nodded, because that is how we were, because that was our generation. Because when you get married in 1972, you learn that there are spaces that are not questioned, silences that are not broken, doors that are not opened. But now Eduardo was dead. 3 weeks, 21 days exactly since I found him in his favorite armchair, with the newspaper still in his hands and an expression of surprise frozen on his face. The doctor said it was instantaneous, a massive heart attack that he did not suffer. But I was suffering. And that laptop, that silver rectangle on my knees, had suddenly become the only thing left of him, the last frontier, the final secret. I took a deep breath. The air entered my 79-year-old lungs in stutters. My ribs hurt. Everything hurt lately. "It's okay," I whispered out loud, as if Eduardo could hear me. "It's okay if there were things you did not want me to know. It's okay." But it was not okay. Nothing was okay. My fingers trembled so much that I had to try 3 times before typing correctly. The screen flickered. A spinning circle appeared. My heart was beating so hard that I could hear it in my ears, muffling the sound of rain against the windows. And then, the screen lit up. The desktop appeared before me, a wallpaper that was a photograph of us from our wedding day. Me in my lace dress and Eduardo in his dark suit, both so young, so full of future. I looked at that image and something inside me broke a little more. How could there be secrets when he had put me in his password, when he had chosen our wedding photo as wallpaper? But there were. I sensed it in my bones, in that intuition that wives develop after decades of marriage. That ability to read silences, to interpret gestures, to feel when something does not fit. The screen showed several neatly arranged icons, folders with names like Taxes 2024, invoices, family photos. Everything so normal, everything so Eduardo, with his obsessive need for order and classification. But there was a folder in the lower right corner that caught my attention. It had no name. It was just a generic folder icon, without a label. I moved the cursor toward it. The pointer trembled on the screen because my hand was trembling. I clicked. The folder opened. Inside was another folder, and inside that one, another. Like those Russian dolls that open one inside the other, revealing layers and more layers. Someone had wanted to hide something very deeply. My breathing accelerated. In the third nested folder, finally, there were files. Many files. Word documents, PDFs, photographs. I opened the first one I saw. It was a Word document. The creation date said March 15, 1998. 26 years ago. The document opened, and I immediately recognized Eduardo's way of writing, that formal, almost old-fashioned way of structuring sentences, as if he were writing an official letter. But what I read froze my blood. Dear Elena, it has been 2 weeks since our last meeting, and each day without seeing you feels like an eternity. I know we promised to be cautious, that we agreed this would be temporary, but I cannot keep lying to myself. What I feel for you. The document fell from my trembling hands. Not physically, of course, because it was digital, but my brain stopped processing the words. They became blurry stains. Elena. That name echoed in my head like a funeral bell. Elena. Who the hell was Elena? My heart had become a wild drum inside my chest. I felt nauseous. The room began to spin slightly, and I had to close my eyes, breathe deeply, force myself to maintain composure. No, I whispered. No, no, no. But the word was still there, shining on the illuminated screen. Elena. I opened my eyes again. I forced my brain to keep reading, although each word was like swallowing ground glass. What I feel for you cannot be just a product of loneliness or weariness. It is real, Elena. More real than anything I have felt in years. When I am with you, I feel young again. I feel alive again. I know this is complicated. I know I have responsibilities. Margarita is a good woman. She has been a good wife all these years. But I cannot keep living a lie. I cannot keep pretending that our marriage is what it once was. I need to see you soon. That is where it ended. The document was incomplete, as if Eduardo had been interrupted, or as if he had never had the courage to finish it. My hands trembled so much that I could barely control the mouse. I closed the document and opened the next one. It was a photograph. A woman, young, maybe in her 30s in the photo. Dark hair, long, with soft waves, wide smile, bright eyes. She was sitting in a cafe with a cup in her hands, looking directly at the camera, looking at Eduardo. Because Eduardo had taken that photo, I knew it immediately from the angle, from the intimacy it captured, from the way she looked at him. The photo was dated April 1998. I did the calculations quickly in my stunned head. In 1998, Eduardo was 52 years old. I was 53. We had been married for 26 years. Our children were already adults. Roberto was 23. Carmen, 20. In 1998, I thought we were happy. In 1998, Eduardo came home late on Thursdays. He said he had work meetings. I would prepare dinner and keep it in the oven, covered with aluminum foil, for him to eat when he arrived. In 1998, I was an idiot. Hot tears rolled down my cheeks. I had not realized I was crying until I felt the moisture on my chin. I kept opening files. Each one was worse than the previous one. More letters, more photos, an image of the two of them together, taken by someone else. Eduardo with his arm around her shoulders, both smiling. He with that smile that I thought was only for me. There were receipts from restaurants, from hotels, dates that coincided with his supposed business trips, that conference in Monterrey, that seminar in Guadalajara. All lies. All lies carefully woven, presented with breakfast and kisses on the cheek. I found a scanned PDF of a birthday card. The handwriting was feminine, round, youthful. For my love on his 53rd birthday, thank you for making me feel special. Thank you for choosing me. I love you more than words can express. Always yours, Elena. Eduardo's 53rd birthday. I had organized a surprise party for him. I had invited all our friends, our children, his work colleagues. I had spent a week cooking his favorite food. I remembered how he had hugged me that night, how he had whispered thank you for everything, Marga, against my hair. And all that time he had this. He had Elena. The laptop almost fell from my knees when a violent sob shook my body. I bent over myself, hugging my stomach, trying to contain the pain that threatened to split me in two. "How could you?" I screamed at the empty room. "How could you, Eduardo?" But Eduardo was dead, and the dead do not answer. I do not know how long I was like that, rocking back and forth, crying with a pain I did not know existed, a different pain from his death. Worse, because this killed not only the present, but also the past. Every memory was now contaminated. Every happy moment now had a shadow. When I could finally breathe again, when I could finally sit up straight and wipe the tears with the back of my wrinkled hand, I looked at the screen again. There were more files, many more. Did I want to continue? Did I want to completely destroy the 53 years I thought I had lived? But there was no turning back. I could not ignore what I had seen. I could not pretend it did not exist. So I kept opening files. I found a document dated December 1998. My hand trembled as I opened it. "Elena, I cannot continue with this. Please understand. My family, I cannot destroy my family. Margarita does not deserve this. My children do not deserve this. What we had was beautiful. You were light in a dark moment of my life, but it was a mistake. A wonderful mistake, but a mistake nonetheless. Please do not try to contact me again. Please let me try to fix what I broke. I wish you the best. I will always wish you the best. Eduardo." So it had ended. In December 1998, less than a year after it began. I should have felt relief. I should have felt that at least it was brief, that at least he came back to me, that at least he chose his family. But I only felt more pain. Because even if it ended, it existed, and I did not know about it. It existed, and I continued being the happy wife, the proud mother, the woman who thought she knew her husband. I kept checking. There were more folders, organized by years. 1999. Empty. 2000 empty. 2001 empty. And then 2002. I opened the folder with trembling hands. More files, more photographs. But these were different. A baby. A little girl with huge dark eyes and a toothless smile, in Elena's arms, who looked older, more tired, but just as beautiful. The photo was dated March 2002. And there was an attached document. A letter written by Elena. "Eduardo, I know you said you do not want to know anything. I know you asked me not to contact you, but she exists, your daughter exists, and she has the right to know her father. Her name is Sophia. She has your eyes, Eduardo. Your same long hands, your same way of frowning when she is concentrated. I am not asking you for money. I am not asking you to abandon your family. I am just telling you that you have another daughter, and that someday when she is older, I am going to have to explain to her why her father chose not to know her." Elena. The world stopped spinning. The room disappeared. All that existed was that word daughter. Eduardo had another daughter. I had. What? A stepdaughter I never knew? Eduardo's children had a half-sister? Sophia. The name floated in my mind like something unreal, impossible. I frantically searched for more files. There had to be more. There had to be some response from Eduardo, some explanation. And I found it. An email draft, never sent, dated a week after Elena's letter. "Elena, I cannot do this to Margarita. I have already done enough damage to her. Even though she will never know, I cannot completely destroy my family. I will send you money. I opened a special account. Every month I will deposit what you need for the girl. For Sophia, but I cannot know her. I cannot be part of her life. It would be too complicated. It would be too painful. Please do not try to force me. Please respect my decision. Eduardo." So he knew. He knew he had a daughter, and he chose, what? To send money and pretend she did not exist? I felt a rage I did not know I was capable of feeling, a burning fury that ran through my veins like liquid fire. Coward, I spat the words. Damn coward. Because that was the worst part. Not just that he had cheated on me, not just that he had a daughter with another woman, but that he had abandoned that girl, that he had chosen the comfort of his lie over the responsibility of his truth. How old was Sophia now? I did the calculations. If she was born in 2002, she would be 22 years old, a young adult, maybe in college, maybe with her own life, her own dreams. A life without a father because Eduardo was too cowardly to face the consequences of his actions. I kept searching compulsively. There had to be more. There had to be something that explained, that justified, that made sense of all this. And then I found the most recent folder, dated just 6 months ago, April 2024. Inside, there was a single document, a letter, but this one was not from Eduardo to Elena. It was from Elena to Eduardo, a scanned PDF of a handwritten letter. Eduardo, I am dying. Pancreatic cancer, stage 4. Doctors give me 6 months, maybe less. I am not writing to you to feel sorry for me. I made my decisions and lived with them. But Sophia needs to know who her father is. I cannot die without telling her the truth. For 22 years I have raised her alone. I told her that her father was a good man who could not be with us due to complicated circumstances. I showed her the few photos I have of you. I told her about your intelligence, your kindness, your love for books. But now she is an adult. She has the right to decide if she wants to know you or not. I am attaching her contact information. Please, Eduardo, please give her the chance to choose. Give her the chance you never chose to give her. This may be the last thing I ask of you in this life. Elena. Attached to the letter was a printed sheet with contact information, a phone number, an email address, a physical address. Sofia Ramirez, Mexico City. Ramirez, Elena's last name, not Eduardo's. I frantically searched for any response from Eduardo. Did he contact her? Did he respond to Elena? And then I found it. An email sent 3 weeks before his death, a month ago. Elena, I am so sorry about your illness. I am so sorry about everything. You are right. Sophia deserves to know. She deserves to decide. But I need time. I need to find the right way to tell my family, to tell Margarita, to tell Roberto and Carmen. I cannot just show up after 53 years of marriage and say, by the way, I have another daughter. Give me a few months, please. I promise I will do it. I promise I will fix everything. Eduardo. But he did not. Because 3 weeks later he was dead. And I was here holding the broken pieces of my life, discovering that I did not even know how many pieces were missing. The laptop slipped from my knees and fell onto the sofa. I did not care. Nothing mattered anymore. I stood up on trembling legs. I had to move. I had to do something. Anything but sit on that sofa, in that room that suddenly felt like a tomb. I walked to the window. The rain had intensified. Thick drops hit the glass like small fists demanding entry. What was I supposed to do now? Call Roberto and Carmen and destroy the image they had of their father? Look for Sophia and introduce myself as, what? The legitimate wife? The woman her father chose over her? Burn everything. Destroy the evidence and pretend I never knew? My reflection in the window looked back at me, an old woman with white hair, swollen eyes from crying, a face furrowed by wrinkles that suddenly seemed deeper. When had I become so old? And then I saw it. In the reflection of the window behind me. The laptop. Its screen still on, glowing softly in the increasingly dark room. I turned around slowly. There was a notification on the screen. A new email had just arrived. With hands that no longer seemed mine, I returned to the sofa and took the laptop. The email was from an unknown address, sofiaramirez1992@gmail.com. The subject line said, "For the family of Eduardo Mendoza." My heart stopped. I opened the email with numb fingers. Dear family. My name is Sofia Ramirez. I do not know if you know who I am. I do not know if my father ever told you about me. My mother, Elena Ramirez, passed away a week ago. Cancer. Before she died, she told me the whole truth about my father, about Eduardo Mendoza, about you. I have spent the last few days deciding whether I should contact you or not, if I have the right to burst into your lives, especially after my father's death, especially when he clearly chose not to have me in his life. But my mother asked me to try. She asked me to at least let you know I exist, to know that Eduardo had another daughter. I do not want money. I do not want to cause problems. I just want, I do not know. Answers, I guess. Some sense of who my father was, beyond the few stories my mother told me. I will understand if you do not want to respond. I will understand if you prefer me to disappear and never bother you again. But if you are willing to talk, even just once, I would be grateful. I am attaching a photo of my mother and me, taken 2 years ago, just so you know who is writing to you. With respect, Sofia Ramirez. I opened the attached file with hands that trembled so much I could barely click. The photo opened, filling the screen. And the world stopped completely. Because the young woman in the photograph not only had Eduardo's eyes, she had his same nose, his same way of smiling, with the left side of the mouth rising a little higher than the right. The same long, slender hands that I had held for 53 years. But she had something else. Something that made me bring a hand to my mouth to contain a scream. She had my chin, my same way of tilting her head when she smiled, the same dimples I had when I was young, before wrinkles erased them. It was not possible. But there it was, undeniable in the photograph. Sofia was not only Eduardo's daughter, she was practically identical to the photos I had of Carmen at 22 years old. They were sisters, true sisters, not just of paternal blood, but it was as if genetics had conspired to create a mirror between them. I got up staggering. I had to see Carmen's photos. I had to verify that I was not going crazy. I ran to the hallway, stumbling on the carpet, holding on to the walls. I reached the study where we kept the family albums. With frantic hands, I took out the album from when Carmen was 20 years old. I opened it, searching, and there it was. Carmen at her college graduation, 22 years old, smiling at the camera with her cap and gown. The similarity was chilling. I placed the album next to the laptop. I compared the images. They could have been twins. How was it possible that fate was so cruel? How was it possible that Eduardo had created 2 practically identical daughters with 2 different women, and they never knew each other? And then, as I looked at the 2 photographs side by side, I heard a sound that chilled me to the bone. A key turning in the lock of the front door. The door opening. "Mom?" Carmen's voice echoed from the hallway. "Mom, are you here? Roberto and I wanted to stop by and see you. We brought food. We know you have not been eating well." Footsteps approaching. "Mom, where are you?" I was paralyzed in the study, with the laptop glowing in front of me, Sofia's email still open, Carmen's photo album beside me showing the face identical to her half-sisters. The footsteps were approaching down the hallway. "Mom?" The study door is open. "Are you?" Carmen appeared in the doorway, Roberto right behind her. And in that moment, as my 2 children looked at me with concern, as their eyes began to move toward the illuminated screen of the laptop, as the world prepared to change forever, the house phone began to ring. A shrill, old-fashioned ring that cut through the silence like a knife. We all froze. The phone kept ringing. "Are you not going to answer, Mom?" Roberto asked, with that tone of concern he had been using since the funeral. With numb hands, I walked to the phone that was on Eduardo's desk. I looked at the caller ID screen. A Mexico City number I did not recognize. With my heart beating so hard I felt I was going to faint, I picked up the receiver and brought it to my ear. "Hello?" My voice sounded broken, old, scared. A pause on the other end. Then, a young voice trembling, full of hope and fear in equal parts. "Mrs. Mendoza, I am Sofia. Sofia Ramirez. I know I just sent the email. But I could not wait. I needed to hear your voice. I needed to know if there is any possibility that..." Her voice broke. I looked at Carmen and Roberto, who were watching me with growing confusion. I looked at the laptop, where Sofia's photo glowed like an accusation, like a truth, like a broken mirror of our family. I looked out the window where the rain kept falling, washing the world but unable to clean the past. And then, with terrible and absolute clarity, I knew that everything was about to change. That in the next few seconds, I would have to choose between destroying the memory my children had of their father, or denying the existence of a young woman who had just lost her mother and was desperately seeking some piece of family. Between truth and peace. Between pain and lies. "Mrs. Mendoza," Sophia's voice sounded so hopeful, so fragile. Are you there? Carmen took a step toward me. Mom. Who is it? Are you okay? You are pale. Roberto took my arm. Mom, sit down. Let me take the call. But I gently pushed them away. Because suddenly, with a certainty that surprised even myself, I knew exactly what I had to do. Eduardo had spent 24 years building lies to protect everyone's comfort. But lies do not protect. They only postpone the pain. And I was tired of living in a house built with secrets. I took a deep breath. Yes, Sophia, I said with a voice firmer than I felt. Yes, I am here. I looked at Carmen and Roberto directly in the eyes. And there is something I need to tell all of you. Carmen frowned. Mom, what are you talking about? But I had already made my decision. My fingers squeezed the phone receiver so tightly that my knuckles turned white. My heart was beating in my throat, in my temples, in every corner of my body that no longer seemed mine. Sophia, I repeated, and the word sounded strange in my mouth, as if I were pronouncing the name of a ghost. I need you to give me your number. I am going to hang up now, but I will call you in a few minutes. Is that okay? There was silence on the other end. I could hear her staggered, nervous breathing. Yes, of course. It is 55 2847 9032. But, are you really going to call me? Because if you prefer that, I am going to call you. I interrupted her, with a firmness I did not know I still possessed. I promise you. Just give me a few minutes. I hung up before she could respond, before I could regret it. The silence in the study was so dense it could be touched. Carmen and Roberto looked at me as if they had never seen me before, and maybe they were right. Maybe the woman standing before them was no longer the mother they knew. Mom. Carmen was the first to speak, with that soft voice she used when trying not to scare me. Who was that? Why are you trembling? I looked at my children. My Carmen, 32 years old, so beautiful, with her brown hair pulled back in an informal ponytail, her worried eyes, that cream-colored sweater I had knitted for her last winter. My Roberto, 35, with the same dignified bearing as his father, the same broad forehead, the same hands now reaching out to me, as if he wanted to hold me before I fell. My babies. My children, whose hearts I was about to break. Sit down, I said, pointing to the two chairs in front of Eduardo's desk. My voice sounded hollow, as if it came from far away. Please sit down. Mom, you are scaring us, Roberto said. But he obeyed. Carmen also sat down, though on the edge of the chair, like a bird ready to fly at the first sign of danger. I remained standing, holding on to the desk. I needed that support. I needed something solid because everything else was falling apart. Today I went to the lawyer, I began, and my voice immediately broke. I coughed, tried to clear it. He gave me the password to your father's laptop. He told me I had complete access to everything. Carmen's eyes opened slightly. Roberto frowned. And? Roberto asked. Is there a problem with the finances, with the inheritance? Because if you need help understanding the papers? No, I interrupted him, and the tears I had been holding back finally began to roll down my cheeks. It is not that. I took the laptop from the desk. My hands trembled so much I almost dropped it. I turned it so they could see the screen. Sophia's email was still open. Her photograph glowed on the monitor. Who is she? Carmen asked, squinting to see better. Read it, I whispered. Please, just read it. Roberto stood up and approached. Carmen followed him. I watched them lean over the laptop, their eyes moving quickly as they read. I saw the exact moment they understood. Roberto's face became rigid, his jaws clenched. Carmen brought a hand to her mouth. No, Carmen murmured. No, this cannot be real. This has to be a scam. Someone who... It is not a scam, I said, and my voice sounded dead. Your father had an affair in 1998 with a woman named Elena Ramirez, and they had a daughter, Sophia. Silence. A silence so absolute I could hear the kitchen clock ticking in the distance, the rain hitting the windows, my own staggered breathing. How do you know it is true? Roberto's voice sounded dangerously calm. That tone he used when he was furious, but trying to control himself. Anyone can send an email saying, Because I found the letters, I interrupted him. I found the photographs. I found everything. Roberto, everything. Years of lies stored in hidden folders on that damn computer. I took the photo album that was still on the desk. I opened it to Carmen's graduation page. And I found this. I placed the album next to the laptop where Sophia's photo still glowed. Carmen looked at both images. I saw her freeze. I saw her bring both hands to her mouth. I heard the choked sound that came from her throat. "My God," she whispered. "My God, it is like looking at myself in a mirror." "She is your sister," I said, and as I said those words out loud, as I made them real, something inside me broke completely. "You have a sister." Roberto grabbed the laptop abruptly. He began clicking on other files. I saw his expression become darker and darker with each document he opened, each photo he saw, each letter he read. "That son of a bitch," he finally muttered. "That damn son of a bitch." "Roberto," I tried to say, but he cut me off. "No, Mom." His voice exploded, filling the small study. "Do not ask me not to be angry. He lied to us. He lied to you for decades. And then he had a daughter, and simply, what? Ignored her? Pretended she did not exist?" He ran his hands through his hair, a gesture exactly like Eduardo did when he was stressed. The irony hit me like a slap. Carmen kept looking at Sophia's photograph. Tears ran silently down her cheeks. "She is 22 years old," she whispered. All this time, I had a sister and did not know it." "Half-sister," Roberto corrected bitterly. "She is my sister." Carmen looked at him fiercely. "She has half my genes. She is more my sister than many of the people I call cousins." She turned to me, with red and swollen eyes. "Did you know?" she asked, and there was so much pain in that question. "Did you know and never told us?" The blow of that accusation was physical. I staggered. "No," I managed to say. "No, Carmen. I just found out today, less than 2 hours ago. I did not know anything." I saw her process it. I saw the way her expression changed from pain to confusion to more pain. "Then you were also deceived," she finally said. "God, Mom. Dad cheated on you for how many years?" 26, I answered automatically, because I had done that calculation mentally dozens of times already. The first letter I found is from 1998. Roberto let out a sound that was half laugh, half sob. 1998. I was 13 years old. "You," he pointed at Carmen, "were 10. We were children, and he was." He did not finish the sentence. He did not need to. We stood there, the three of us, in that study that smelled of old books and the cologne Eduardo used, surrounded by the ghosts of his lies. "What are we going to do?" Carmen finally asked, wiping her tears with the back of her hand. "That girl, Sophia, she just lost her mother, and now she is looking for, what? A family? Answers?" "Her mother died a week ago," I said quietly. "Elena, the woman your father, the woman Eduardo had the affair with. She died of cancer. And now Sophia is completely alone." Carmen hugged herself. "Without a mother, without a father. God, it is so sad." "It is not our responsibility," Roberto said, but even as he said it, he did not sound convinced. "Is it not?" Carmen looked at him. "She is our sister, Roberto. She is the result of Dad's cheating." Roberto hit the desk with his hand, making the laptop jump. "We are not responsible for his mistakes." "But she is not a mistake." Carmen stood up. "She is a person. She is our sister. Half-sister." "Stop it with that," Carmen screamed, and it surprised me because my Carmen never screamed. "Half-sister, full sister. What does it matter? She shares our blood. Look at her." She pointed at the screen. "She is identical to me. How can you just ignore that?" Roberto clenched his jaw. I could see the tears he was fighting to contain. "I cannot keep thinking of Dad as a hero," he finally said, with a broken voice. "All my life I admired him. I wanted to be like him, and now it turns out he was a liar, a coward who abandoned his own daughter." "I know," I said softly, approaching him. "I am also angry with him. I also feel betrayed. But honey, Sophia is not to blame for your father's decisions." Roberto looked at me with bright eyes. How can you be so calm about it? He asked. He cheated on you for decades. He made you raise your children thinking they had a perfect family when everything was a lie. Are you not furious? I am devastated, I admitted, and my voice finally broke completely. I am so devastated that I do not know how to keep breathing. But that girl is alone, Roberto, and as much as I hate what your father did, I cannot leave her completely alone. Carmen hugged me then. She hugged me so tight that I felt her sobs shake both bodies. I love you, Mom, she cried against my shoulder. I am so sorry Dad did this to you. I stroked her hair, that gesture I had done thousands of times when she was a child and had nightmares. I love you too, sweetheart. Roberto joined the embrace. The three of us stood like that, clinging to each other in the middle of the shipwreck of our family. I do not know how long we were like that. It could have been a minute or an hour. Time had stopped having meaning. Finally, we separated. Carmen wiped her face with her hands. What are you going to tell her? She asked. To Sophia, you said you were going to call her. I looked at the number I had scribbled on a piece of paper, 55 2847 9032. I do not know, I admitted. I have no idea what to tell her. Tell her the truth, Roberto said with a hoarse voice. Tell her we just found out that we are processing it, but that we want to meet her. I looked at him surprised. You want to meet her? He shrugged, but I could see the emotion in his eyes. If she is my sister, if she really is my sister, then yes, I want to meet her, even though I hate how we got here. Carmen nodded vigorously. Me too. God, it is so strange. I have a sister. All this time I had a sister. I took the phone with trembling hands. I dialed the number Sophia had given me. Each ring sounded like thunder in my ear. On the third ring, she answered. Hello? Her voice sounded terrified, hopeful, young. Sophia, I said, and I had to stop to clear my throat. I am Margarita Mendoza, the wife of Eduardo. Mrs. Mendoza, she exhaled. Thank you for calling. I thought maybe I had made a mistake by writing. You did not make a mistake. I looked at Carmen and Roberto, who had moved closer to listen. Sophia, I need you to know something. My children and I just found out about your existence today. Literally, an hour ago. Your father never told us about you. Silence on the other end. Then, a choked sob. I know, she finally said. My mother told me that he chose to keep me a secret, that he chose his other family over me. The pain in her voice was unbearable. That does not mean you are not important, I said quickly. It means your father was a coward, that he made terrible decisions, but you are not responsible for that. Are they angry? She asked in a small voice. Your children, my half-siblings, are they angry with me? Carmen snatched the phone from my hands. Sophia, she said, and her voice trembled. I am Carmen, your sister, and no, I am not angry with you. I am shocked and confused and furious with our father, but not with you. Never with you. I heard Sophia's staggered breathing through the phone. Really? She whispered. Really? Carmen smiled through tears. And I want to meet you, if you want to, of course. Me too, Roberto's voice resonated near the phone. I am Roberto, and Carmen is right. We want to meet you. There was a long silence, then Sophia began to cry. Not discreet sobs, but deep, liberating crying. I thought you would hate me, she managed to say between sobs. I thought you would see me as your father's mistake. You are our sister, Carmen said fiercely. Period. We talked for almost an hour. Sophia told us about her life, about how she grew up knowing she had a father who did not want to know her, about how Elena had done everything possible to fill that void, about the last months caring for her mother while cancer slowly took her away. We told her about Eduardo, about the man we thought we knew, about the family we thought we were. And slowly, painfully, we began to weave the broken pieces of our truths into something that could resemble a new reality. When can we see each other? Sophia finally asked with a timid voice. Carmen looked at me. Roberto too. The decision was mine. I thought about Eduardo, dead in his armchair with the newspaper in his hands. I thought about the 53 years I had lived, believing I knew my husband. I thought about all the lies, all the betrayals, all the carefully guarded secrets. And I thought about this young woman who had lost her mother and who was desperately seeking some piece of family. "What about this weekend?" I said. "You can take a bus or we can go to Mexico City, whatever you prefer." "I can go," she said quickly. "I do not want to cause you any trouble. You have had enough." "It is not trouble," I said, and I was surprised to realize I meant it. "We want to meet you, Sophia." After hanging up, the three of us remained silent in the study. Outside, the rain had begun to subside. The last rays of the sun broke through the clouds, painting the sky in orange and purple tones. "So Roberto finally said, 'We have a sister.'" "We have a sister," Carmen repeated, as if she needed to hear herself say it to believe it. I looked at Sophia's photograph still glowing on the laptop screen. Then I looked at my children. My family that had just grown in the most painful and strange way possible. "Yes," I said softly. "We have a sister." And in that moment, as the sun set and darkness began to fill the house, as we prepared to face everything that would come after, I heard a new sound. A message arriving at the laptop. Carmen approached to look. "It is another email," she said, frowning. "From the same Elena Ramirez account that sent the original letter. But Elena is dead," Roberto said. A chill ran down my spine. "Open it," I whispered. Carmen clicked. The email opened. It was brief. Just one line. "This is an automatic scheduled delivery. If you are reading this, it means 30 days have passed since my death, and Eduardo is also not alive to explain. There is more you need to know. Check the folder called The Complete Truth. Elena." The three of us stood staring at the screen. "What?" Carmen was the first to speak. "What else could there be?" With numb fingers, I searched through the laptop folders, and there it was, hidden among system files, The Complete Truth. I opened it. Inside was a single video file. Is it a video?" Roberto asked. I double-clicked. The video opened, and my world stopped completely and absolutely. Because there, on the screen, was Eduardo. My Eduardo, alive, looking directly at the camera, recorded 3 months before his death, and he began to speak. Roberto took my hand when Eduardo's face filled the screen. Carmen clung to my other arm. The three of us were trembling. Eduardo looked tired in the video. He had deep dark circles, and his hands trembled slightly when he rested them on the desk in front of him. That same desk where I was sitting now. "Margarita," he began, and his voice pierced me like a knife. "If you are watching this, it means I died without having the courage to tell you the truth in person. It means I am the coward I always feared being." I closed my eyes. I did not want to see him, but I could not stop looking either. "Elena contacted me 3 months ago. She told me she was dying. She asked me to meet Sophia before it was too late, and finally, after 24 years, I agreed. We met twice." My heart stopped. "What?" Carmen whispered. Eduardo continued, with tears rolling down his cheeks. She is extraordinary, Marga. She is brilliant and kind, and she has your smile. Yes, your smile, not just mine. When I met her, it was like seeing a ghost of our family, as if the universe had tried to unite both parts of my life through her." "No," I murmured. "It cannot be. I have to tell you something I never knew how to say." Eduardo leaned toward the camera. "Elena and I did not just have an affair. We met before, much before. The world began to spin. I met her in 1971. 1 year before I met you, we were engaged for 6 months. We were going to get married." My God, Roberto squeezed my hand so hard it hurt. "But her family did not approve. I was very poor then. Her father paid me to stay away from her. He gave me enough money to finish college, and I accepted. I left Elena and never looked back." Eduardo wiped the tears with the back of his hand. "A year later I met you, Margarita, and I loved you. I really loved you. I married you because I wanted to build a life with you, and for 26 years, I was happy. We were happy. But then," his voice broke, In 1998, Elena showed up at my office. She was divorced, alone, and needed legal help with a property matter. When I saw her, all those feelings I thought I had buried came back, and I was weak. Carmen sobbed against my shoulder. Roberto had his jaw clenched, looking at the screen with fury. What I did not know. Eduardo took a deep breath. Is that Elena had never forgotten me. She had never married for love. She did it because her family pressured her after I left. And when she saw me again, she decided she deserved to have something of mine, even if it was for a short time. Sophia was intentional. Margarita. Elena stopped taking her birth control without telling me. She got pregnant on purpose because she wanted to have a part of me that no one could take away from her. I felt nauseous. When she told me, I panicked. I ended everything and ran away like the coward I am. I sent her money monthly, but I never had the courage to meet my daughter. I never had the courage to tell you the truth. Eduardo moved closer to the camera, with red and swollen eyes. But there is something else you need to know. Something Elena told me when we met 3 months ago, something that changes everything. My heart was beating so hard I thought it would explode. In 1971, before her father paid me to stay away, Elena and she got pregnant. We found out 2 weeks before her father intervened. We were going to run away together. We were going to have that baby. No, I whispered. No, no, no. But her father forced her to have an abortion. He told her that if she did not, he would hurt me. He would make me disappear. Elena was 19 years old and terrified. So she obeyed. She lost our baby. And she never told me. She kept that pain for more than 50 years. Eduardo was crying openly now. When we had Sophia in 1998, Elena told me it was her way of recovering what her father took from us. It was her way of healing that wound that never closed. That is why her name is Sophia, the name we had chosen for our first daughter more than 50 years ago. The silence in the study was absolute. Margarita, I cheated on you. I lied to you. I built our life on secrets, but I need you to know that every day with you was real. Every moment with our children was real. I loved you. I always loved you, but I also loved Elena, and I did not know how to live with both truths. Eduardo wiped his face and looked directly at the camera. Roberto, Carmen, if you are watching this with your mother, I am sorry. I am sorry for being the father who lied to you. But Sophia is your sister. She is innocent in all of this. Please give her the family. I never had the courage to give her. He leaned forward and reached for something off camera. When his hand appeared again, he was holding an envelope. Elena gave me this before she died. She asked me to give it to you, Marga. It is in the 3rd drawer of my desk, under the tax files. It is for you, only for you. The screen went black. The 3 of us stood petrified, processing everything we had just heard. There was another baby? Carmen whispered. Dad almost had another child in 1971. And Sophia was, what? A replacement? Roberto sounded lost. A second chance for Elena? But I had already stood up. I headed to Eduardo's desk on trembling legs. I opened the 3rd drawer. I pushed aside folders of tax files with frantic hands. And there it was, a yellowed envelope, sealed with my name written in Elena's elegant handwriting. I opened it with clumsy fingers. Inside was a handwritten letter and an old photograph. I read the letter aloud because I knew Carmen and Roberto needed to hear this as much as I did. Dear Margarita, I never thought I would write this. I never thought I would have the courage. I spent 50 years blaming you. In my sick and wounded mind, you had stolen Eduardo from me. You had the life that was supposed to be mine. That is why when I saw him again in 1998, I decided to recover what I felt belonged to me. But I was wrong. You did not steal anything from me. Eduardo made his own decisions. He accepted my father's money. He walked away from me, and then he chose you. And when I finally met him again 3 months ago, when I saw him interact with Sophia, I understood something. He loved you. He really loved you. Not in the desperate and obsessive way I loved him, but with a peace and constancy that I could never have given him. Sophia was not conceived out of love. She was conceived out of revenge, out of pain, out of my selfish need to recover what I had lost. But despite all that, she became the best thing in my life. And now I leave her to you. Not because she is a burden, but because she deserves a complete family. She deserves siblings who know her. She deserves to belong to something bigger than my pain. The attached photograph is of Eduardo and me in 1971. We were so young, so stupid, so sure that love was enough. It was not, but Sophia is. She is enough. Take care of her as I no longer can. With respect and apologies that come 50 years too late. Elena. I looked at the photograph. It was Eduardo at 24 years old, incredibly young, with dark hair and not a single wrinkle. He had his arm around a slender girl with long hair and bright eyes. Elena. They looked so happy, so full of future. Carmen took the photo from my hands. She studied it carefully. Dad was so young, she said softly. They were all so young. And they all made mistakes, Roberto added, with a hoarse voice. Dad, Elena's father, they all destroyed lives trying to control love. I sat heavily in Eduardo's desk chair. Exhaustion hit me suddenly, like a giant wave. What do we do now? I asked, looking at my children. What the hell do we do now? Carmen knelt in front of me and took my hands in hers. Now we welcome our sister this weekend, she said firmly. We tell her the whole truth, and we decide, together, how to move forward. Do we tell her about the 1971 baby? Roberto asked. About her being conceived as a replacement. We tell her everything, Carmen said. She deserves to know her whole story. No more secrets, no more lies. I looked at my children, so strong despite the pain, so willing to embrace a sister they did not know, so different from their father in the ways that mattered. Eduardo was right about one thing, I finally said. Sophia is innocent, and she deserves a family. And you, Mom? Roberto asked gently. How are you? I took a moment to think, to really feel. I am devastated, I admitted. Your father lied to me for decades. He built a parallel life I never suspected. But we also spent 53 years together. 53 years that were real, even if they were built on secrets. And now he is dead, and the only thing I can do is choose what to do with what remains. And what are you going to do? Carmen asked. I looked around the study. The photos of our family on the walls, the books Eduardo and I had collected together, the blanket I had knitted draped over his favorite armchair. I am going to keep living, I said. I am going to meet Sophia. I am going to mourn the man I loved and at the same time be furious with him. I am going to try to build something new with the broken pieces of the old. I closed the laptop, finally turning off Eduardo's face. And I am going to make sure our family, this strange and broken and complicated family, is not built on more lies. Carmen hugged me tight. Roberto joined, wrapping both of us with his long arms. We love you, Mom, Roberto said against my hair. And we are going to be okay. I do not know how, but we are going to be okay. We stood like that as darkness finished falling over the house, as the outside world kept spinning, oblivious to how our life had been detonated and rebuilt in the course of an afternoon. 3 days later, Sophia arrived on the 3 o'clock bus. I recognized her immediately when she got off. Not just from the photographs I had seen, but from the way she moved, the nervous gesture with which she pushed her hair away from her face, the way she bit her lower lip when she saw us waiting for her. Eduardo's gestures, my gestures, Carmen's gestures. She stopped a few meters from us, clearly terrified. Carmen was the first to move. She walked toward Sophia with determined steps and simply hugged her. I saw the moment Sophia broke, the way her shoulders began to shake, the choked sound of her crying against Carmen's shoulder. Hello, sister, Carmen whispered. Roberto joined the embrace, and then, with slow but sure steps, I did too. We stood there, at the bus station, 4 people united by blood and secrets and pain, building something new on the ruins of the old. That night, sitting around the dining room table with tea and cookies I had baked that morning, we told Sophia everything. We did not spare any details. The affair, the lost baby of 1971, the reasons why Elena had conceived her, Eduardo's lies. Sophia cried. We all cried. But when we finished, she took my hand across the table. I am sorry my existence has brought you so much pain, she said with a trembling voice. No, I interrupted her firmly. You did not bring us pain. Secrets brought pain. Lies brought pain. You are just a young woman who deserves a family, and if you let us, we would like to try to be that family. Really? Her eyes, Eduardo's eyes, filled with tears again. Even after knowing, especially after knowing, Carmen said. Because now we know the whole truth, and we can choose to build something real on it. Sofia stayed that weekend, and the next one, and the next one. Slowly, painfully, we learned to be a family. Roberto taught her to play chess, as Eduardo had taught him. Carmen discovered they shared a love for photography and spent hours reviewing old family albums, weaving Sofia into our history. And I learned to love this young woman who was a constant reminder of both the best and worst of Eduardo. A month later, as we were organizing Eduardo's things to donate them, Sofia found a box hidden in the closet. Inside were letters Eduardo had written but never sent. Letters for her, dated throughout the years. Dear Sofia, today you turn 5. I wonder if you like chocolate like your sister Carmen. Dear Sofia, you are 13 today. I hope you are having a good adolescence. I hope your mother is taking good care of you. Dear Sofia, you turn 22 today. You are an adult now, and I never had the courage to meet you. Dozens of letters, a lifetime of remorse captured in words that were never sent. Sofia read them all that night, with Carmen and Roberto by her side, each one holding her hand. He knew me, she whispered when she finished. In his own way, he knew me. He knew you, I confirmed. And now we know you too, and we are not going to disappear. 6 months have passed since that day I opened Eduardo's laptop. 6 months since my world was destroyed and rebuilt. It still hurts. There are days when I look at my wedding photograph and feel a burning fury toward the young man smiling at me, not knowing all the secrets he would keep. There are nights when I cry for the marriage I thought I had, for the 53 years that now seem stained with lies. But there are also good moments, like when Sofia comes for dinner on Sundays and fills the house with laughter. Like when Carmen and Sofia go shopping together and come back loaded with bags and inside jokes. Like when Roberto teaches Sofia about finances because Elena, bless her, was never good with money. Life continues. In strange and unexpected ways, it continues. I sold Eduardo's laptop. I could not keep seeing it. But I kept the letters. I kept them in a beautiful box that Carmen gave me, along with the photographs of Elena and Eduardo when they were young. Because that is also our story. Painful, complicated, imperfect, but ours. Last night, as the 4 of us had dinner together, Sofia raised her wine glass. I want to make a toast, she said. To imperfect families, to painful truths, and to people who choose love even when it would be easier to choose hate. We clinked our glasses, and in that crystalline sound, in that small moment of connection, I found something resembling peace. I do not forgive Eduardo. I do not know if I ever will. But I chose not to let his lies destroy me. I chose to build something new with my children and with Sofia. I chose to live. And sometimes, on good days, that is enough. The end.